It's September 23rd, 2025. The three of us have yet to have been raptured. Not that we're anticipating that, but that also means since we're not being raptured, we get to do a podcast. So that means it's time for the Knee Jerks, Detroit Sports Talk with Eno, Nick, and Big Al. As always, I am Al Beaton, the Big Al of this group. I'm kind of winging it tonight because I was kind of unprepared. I've been traveling a lot. I've been up north in the Florida and back up north. I'm in Traverse City right now. If you're watching this on video, we are live, by the way, on YouTube and Twitch. And so I have no laptop, no tablet. I'm doing this on a phone, so we have no notes tonight or anything like that. Essentially, we're going to try and do our normal stuff. We'll have the Greg's birthday game. We'll name our Jerk of the Week. But in between, we're just going to bullshit. We're just going to talk like we do when we text during games and things like that. So with that out of the way, so like a bare bones podcast tonight. With that out of the way, let me introduce the as they used to call it, the mad writers, the gang of idiots. First off, is Nick Milanovich, our West Coast correspondent. How things going, Nick?
Well, not too bad over here. Weather's actually still pretty nice, and I actually just did my first science fair display this past weekend.
The science fair. What exactly is this, if you don't mind telling us?
It's kind of weird. It's called a science fair. There's an old steam plant out here in one of the neighborhoods in Seattle, built in 1906 and then decommissioned in the 70s. But it's now a historical site, and the group that's taken it over holds a lot of events right in the steam plant. And this year they had their second annual science fair. So the organizer just reached out to me, saw my stuff on Instagram, and said, "Hey, do you want to display your artwork there?" Oh. And so that's what I did. So from 12 to 8 p.m. on Saturday and Sunday, I was out there talking it up with people and showing the stuff I was doing. So it was a lot of fun.
Because when I hear science fair, I immediately think of Homer Simpson putting racing stripes on the cooling towers and winning. So I'm sure yours was much better than that. Anyway.
It was a little more sophisticated than that, but
all right, and of course we have Greg Eno of his Substack, the Greg Eno Substack, and numerous other things online. He is also he's the one that can actually track what's going on right now when it comes to the Tigers game. So if you hear updates about what's going on, as we just heard,
or someone blurts out "fuck."
No. Anyway, as always, my longtime partner in crime, Greg Eno, please let us know what's going on with the Tigers and tell people how to get to your Substack.
Well, it's no use saying what's going on with the Tigers, because by the time this podcast airs, this game will be long over with.
But I want to know.
It's 2-1 Detroit, first and third, nobody out. For some more, thanks to some more voodoo small ball by the Guardians, they didn't get 3 balls that didn't leave the infield, and they got to run. And first and third, nobody out, because that's what the Guardians do. They're just a bunch of baseball terrorists, and they're at it again. But anyways, I'm Greg Eno for my Greg Eno Substack. Did he get hit in the face? I'm sorry I do this live in the air, but oh my God, I think Scooble just hit David Fry in the face. Oh my God!
Ouch!
Oh my God! And Scooble's reaction was not good either. Oh, Fry was gonna square up the bunt, another bunt, which would have been the third of the inning. And this is what they get for bunting, I guess. Oh my gosh. Sorry, guys.
Well, and to be honest, that's what you do. You throw high and tight when someone squares the bunt.
Oh,
but it sounds like it's away from them.
Oh my God. I hope it glanced off his bat at least instead of hitting him flush in the face.
Oh
my God. Of course, this is Fry, the guy with the grand slam last year. But my God. This is live podcasting, folks.
Yeah, this is like Kevin Harlan calling both games. This is Greg doing a podcast and calling a game. So, Anyway,
so you can follow me. GregEno.substack.com is the Substack. Please subscribe. I will be in your inbox every Monday, sometimes Thursdays as well. My piece Yesterday was about the Tigers and about how if they blow this and don't make the playoffs, they will go down in infamy and forever will be. They will have stained the franchise forever. Inarguably, the biggest stain the franchise will have seen in its 125 years history of the American League, and they will just be known forever. They'll be just ignominious forever, just like the 64 Phillies, the 78 Red Sox, the 51 Dodgers. They will just go down, and because of the most recent, the future choke jobs will be like compared to the 2025 Tigers, and that's what's going to happen, and that's what's at stake here. But anyways, so please do that. And I'm also on Twitter or X if you prefer to call it at Greg Eno. No guest tonight, as Al indicated. We were going to be going kind of Footloose Fancy Free tonight, kind of an abbreviated program, maybe an hour 15 or so. We're recording this about an hour later than normal on a Tuesday night. We didn't want to record last night because of the Lions game, so here we are. And Al, you've got I'm sure we're mainly Tigers and Lions. But before we get to any of that, I do have a game we like to call Whose Birthday Is It, Maestro? Everybody knows how we play this game by now. I'll give Al and Nick a clue or two or three of an individual whose birthday it is today in the world of sports. And if either of those gentlemen can correctly guess that person within the first two clues, they will receive a bag of doorknobs. You ever hear the phrase, he went down like a bag of doorknobs? Well, you'll receive a bag of doorknobs. How about that for the prize? A little bit different. A little bit different. We usually do pop culture, but this time we're going to do a bag of doorknobs. So this is for a bag of doorknobs. This person has made his name, is making his name, I should say, in football. He was born on this date in 1962. He is currently a coach in head coach in the National Football League, and he is a very successful coach in the American Football Conference since 2008. And I'll leave it there.
All right. So he was born in 62, NFL coach.
Andy Reid?
No, it's a good guess.
Yeah.
Andy's a little bit older than that, but that's a good guess. Okay. That's a really good guess, actually.
I have another guess, but go ahead.
But it's not. That's a good one. Although he's been coaching one team, unlike Andy. He's been coaching one team.
John Harbaugh?
John Harbaugh, yep. John Harbaugh is 63 today. And
what a birthday gift you got yesterday.
That's right.
Greg made that one very relevant. What happened.
Yeah, John Harbaugh.
Any updates on the beaning, Greg?
They carted Fry off the field in one of those carts, golf carts. That was pretty nasty.
Yeah, who was the one? Wasn't it an Indian?
No, wild pitch and the game's tied.
Oh, good Lord.
So Guardians have not hit the ball out of the infield, and have scored twice, and still don't have anybody else.
Off the Tigers' ace.
Off the Tigers' ace. It's just.
I'm just off the top of my head. Wasn't the back in the 20s when someone was killed by a thrown ball? Was that a Cleveland Indian, if I remember right? I can't remember the guy's name.
His name was Ray Chapman.
Ray
Chapman.
Yes.
And he was killed. You're right. He was beaten.
Yeah.
I can't remember the name of the pitcher. I should know this, but I don't. I think you're right. I think he did play for Cleveland.
Yeah. Well, boy, talk about going off. See, we're going off on tangents because we didn't have a today. So, all right. But with that, I'll be anticipating my bag of doorknobs. You can ship them to my P.O. box here in Traverse City. But with that, do we want to talk Tigers or do we want to?
Carl Mays. Carl Mays was the pitcher. Carl Mays. The Yankees.
Carl Mays. Yeah. Wow.
Right. I'll leave it up to you guys. Do we want to start with the Tigers or end with the Tigers? Or do you want to talk Lions because that's a much more up? Well, we can end.
Let's do Lions because we'll by the time we're toward the end of this podcast, we'll know who won this game probably. Let's do the Lions.
So let me just make a prediction about the Tigers because it'll probably happen by the end of this podcast. Scuba will be pulled out after 100 pitches. They'll have about 6 other, God knows how many relievers come in, and Will Vest will blow it somewhere at the end.
Yes, that's it. That's been that's a script right now, right? That's been the recent script. I hate to say it, but you're right.
It's a high probability guess.
Yeah, the science is speaking here. So exactly.
That's right.
A method to the madness, as they say. All right, I guess we'll start with the Lions then, which was, I guess the best way to put it is people were writing the Lions off after game one. That it was admittedly an awful game against Green Bay, and here we are after game three, which was a hell of an entertaining game against Baltimore, the Ravens, last night on Monday Night Football, and now the Lions are once again Super Bowl contenders, and they're the toast of the NFL, of ESPN, and of many of the people who were writing them off two plus weeks ago. So, but that was a lot. That was such a Lions game, in that the running game dominated. They and honestly, both defensive lines imposed their will on the Ravens, which was honestly shocking to me. Jared Goff was accurate as hell, made the throws he needed to make, and Dan Campbell did Dan Campbell things by going forward on 4th down 3 times, converting all 3 times. The last one, 4th and 2, with what I think was a minute 56 left in the game, which essentially more or less was going to end the game. And I remember I texted you guys then that happened, and I said, "Is Dan Campbell going for it?" And immediately it was just yes, yes, yes. Everybody, he's going for it.
He's got the onions, man.
When you have the announcers calling them onions, it's like. But yeah, it was. But what got me though wasn't that I was expecting they were going to give it to David Montgomery up the gut or something, but to make that 20-yard throw to Amon-Ra and it was an absolute dime. Then of course on the next play Montgomery takes it like 30 yards for a touchdown, game over. But that was such a Lions game, at 95 plus yard drives, I believe. That was such a Lions game. We've seen this kind of game over and over the past few years, but to have it done on the road against another considered Super Bowl contender, and all the questions that have been swirling around the team over the past couple of weeks, it really was one of the most satisfying wins the Lions had in the Dan Campbell era. So I guess I'll start with you, Greg. What were your thoughts on the game last night?
Well, I did not think full disclosure, I did not think that they would win last night before the game. I have to admit it. I was giving the ESPN folks a lot of crap for having picked the Ravens, but had I been on that panel, I would have picked the Ravens as well, because the Lions have never won in Baltimore while they were the Ravens. They don't typically play well when they play there. And not that that's necessarily a causation or for subsequent appearances, but it did not. I just didn't think that they were going to do it. But as the game wore on, and I saw how well those two kids played at guard all night long, Ratledge and Mahogany, and how they didn't start out great, but then they slowly but surely established the run game. That's when you know the Lions have a really good shot, when they can run the football. And you don't even have to break a big one like David Montgomery broke one. It just that 98-yard drive, my God, almost 11 minutes long, 18 or 19 plays. My gosh, just a thing of beauty. And they stuck with it. I mean, they didn't get rattled when the Ravens took the lead. Brian Branch missed an interception, which subsequently turned into a touchdown drive for the Ravens, but they stuck with it. And John Morton called a great game, threw in some razzle dazzle, just enough razzle dazzle to get the job done. That they played loose, they played like the Lions we know. And the thing I like most, though, guys, about that is that, to me, this really puts to bed the narrative that Dan Campbell can't win without his two old coordinators. He's now won 2 in a row. He's hung 52 points on the Bears, 38 points on the Ravens. That's 90 points in 2 games. The defense, while it hasn't been the 1985 Bears necessarily, has played well the last 2 weeks. Actually, they didn't play all that bad in the second half of the Green Bay game. But so between Kelvin Shepard and John Morton And I just think what this does is just further cements that Dan Campbell, this is his team, and he's not Bill Belichick without Tom Brady. You know what I mean? He's Dan Campbell, and he's the guy. And so that's what I like most about it is that it kind of puts that whole narrative to bed. I see that NFL.com has them now, I think, third in the power rankings, the Lions, after week 3. And who would have saw that coming after that performance that we all talked about a couple weeks ago. So it was just a really they didn't even really use Jameson Williams. I don't think he caught a pass after in the second half. He was basically
the opening drive. He had the 2 catches, and that was it.
Right, and I didn't see him the rest of the night, which is fine. That just goes to show you that they've got so many weapons that you don't care necessarily about that.
Yeah, like Sam Laporta. It seemed like every catch he made last night moved the chains. It was a clutch third down catch, for example.
Right.
Jahmyr Gibbs was okay. We had 2 touchdowns, but I think he only averaged like 3.5 yards per carry. He was like 20 carries for about 65 yards. But when he wasn't getting the yards, David Montgomery absolutely blew up. He had the 71-yarder and another 30-yarder. It was just such a Lions victory. And and Amon-Ra was Amon-Ra, and it was just as I said that. But those drives, Nick, those 2 90+ yard drives, like I texted you last night. That first one was 96 yards, almost 11 minutes. And I texted you guys, just put that drive in the Louvre. That's exactly what I want to see from the Lions. They ground the clock out, made clutch passes, and just imposed their will. It was a thing of beauty.
It's funny we're saying now this is a Lions type of drive, and we grew up with same old Lions. So we've completely redefined that. What it means. I still get a little bit like, okay, are they going to blow it now? Are they going to blow it now?
Mm-hmm.
Like, not once. They didn't flinch.
It really is. You're always expecting the other shoe to drop, and it hasn't in 3 years for the most part.
No, not at all. Not even close. I mean, it's more than just that. I mean, like that night, the first one I think was like 98-yard drive, and didn't they get like the ball was down to 5. There was a penalty half the distance to the goal line. And so it's like they were like really up against the goal line.
Mm-hmm.
And that was an amazing drive. They were playing very, very good, mistake-free football.
Yeah.
Which is totally necessary. I mean, people still criticize Goff for a lot of things, but the one thing he's not is inaccurate.
Right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The accuracy is insane. I mean, it helps like Amon-Ra St. Brown just like vacuums up every ball in his direction. But they have a really good offense. And I think one of the things we said is like, okay, we saw some kind of like, I don't want to call them gimmick plays. I don't want to cheapen it by calling it gimmick plays, but some clever, more complicated plays that take some choreography. And it never got cute though.
Yeah.
Like last couple of years, we got frustrated because Ben Johnson had all of a sudden some cute play. You're like, what the fuck was this? And but it was none of that. They just kept on driving and driving. I think one of the other things too is their defense was better than than they were in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
Especially because they were handling Lamar Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
I think he only got like 35 yards in the game.
He gained like 35 yards rushing, but lost more in sack yardage.
Yeah, I mean, like he would probably be in most of the time, and probably against many teams, just running amok. I mean, he's fast. He's a threat to run all the time if he can't find a receiver. And he threw for like almost 300 yards yesterday too. So the passing was no joke. So the fact that the Lions were able to stop him and sack him 7 times is quite impressive.
Yeah, they picked their poison. They said, "Well, we'll shut down the run. You'll have to beat us with the pass," and they couldn't. Ultimately, they couldn't, because they shut down Derrick Henry big time as well. Plus they forced that big. Aiden Hutchinson forced that big turnover before his fumble late in the fourth quarter. But yeah, it's you make a good point on the defense though, because that was obviously a big topic coming into the game with the Marcus Davenport stuff. With oh my God, he's hurt. Because he got put on the IR. He was first game. And, of course, the I told you so gang came out in droves, but they didn't miss him one bit. Muhammad, the guy they picked off the street last year, had 2.5 sacks, 2 tackles for loss, and like 5 tackles or something like that. He actually played better than Davenport had, which kind of brings them up. When the Lions said we're okay, well, that's kind of shows you they thought that they know more about their roster than the fans do, or the media for that matter. And when they say they feel like they have guys who can play at a specific position, we should tend to believe them.
I mean, they've hardly been wrong, like on the guys that they picked and they put out there, right? And, I've stopped trying to judge Brad Holmes. So it's like, just do whatever you're doing, whatever the hell you're doing, because there's been no GM that's been able to put perfume on this pig until now. And so the Lions are like totally different. And I just realized that they're going to get even better when McNeil comes back. I don't think he was playing still.
Yeah, McNeil's not back. Pascal's not back. Davenport's supposed to be back, they say, in 4 games. They say it's not a long-term thing. He's just going to be out for the 4 games of the IR. So, yeah, they've got reinforcements coming. Oh, and Malcolm Rodriguez as well. He's going to be back probably by the middle of the year. He would be a starting linebacker on a lot of teams, and he's a backup on this one, but a very valuable backup. So yeah, there are reinforcements coming. That's a great point.
So, hopefully, they don't hit any kind of like rough patch or anything, and no, they look good. And the other thing too is. Back to like week 1, people were like, the sky is falling kind of attitude. I'm like, that's just game 1 in the 17-game season. New offensive coordinator, new defensive coordinator. The line is different. The offensive line is different. Defensive players are coming back from injury. Yeah, so they had a bad game 1, and but game 2 looked very different. Okay, bad Bears team. How about game 3? Now they beat the crap out of Baltimore, which is a good team.
Yeah.
So, I think they're going to be tough this year if they keep playing like this.
And Greg, we should also bring up, since we didn't have a chance to talk about it since we were off last week, was the Lions taking the Bears to the woodshed, hanging a 50 burger on Ben Johnson and essentially saying, "Yeah, you are for all the talk that this was your offense. Well, we're going to prove that we can do this without you." And they sure as hell did, because they absolutely curb stomped the Bears with that offense. They just took that was a no doubt. We're here to prove that you are not at our level yet, and who knows if you ever will? Because I'm not sold on Ben Johnson as the head coach yet. Who knows? But that was it's like the Lions came out of that game. One, but it go into that day was that obviously they had something to prove after the awful start against Green Bay, which now looks like the outlier. Right. And 2, it looks like they had something to prove to the world that we weren't just Ben Johnson, essentially.
And, I think you're right. I think the players kind of took that a little personally, quite frankly. Mm-hmm. Maybe that in retrospect, and Nick's right. 1 game out of 17, is exactly what that is. 1 out of 17. Maybe in retrospect, it was good for them to have that kind of. And I think, and to kind of hear that talk about, it's the coordinators, it's not Dan Campbell, and these guys can't play unless Ben Johnson's calling the plays. In this day and age of social media. And, it used to be, in the 70s when you and I started following sports, players could shut that stuff off. All they had to do was just not listen to the radio, and not read the newspapers. Now with social media, everybody's on, including the players. It's impossible to not expose yourself to that kind of stuff. You can't tell me that kind of stuff did make its way into the Lions locker room. What people were saying, not just fans, but supposedly football observers were saying whispers that maybe it's Ben Johnson. He was the Svengali. He was the mastermind. And without Ben, they just aren't the same team. You can't tell me that they didn't get wind of that. And they take some pride in that. And I think that, and the other thing that is fascinating is they've not lost 2 games in a row in almost 3 years. Okay.
Yeah.
I think the last time they lost 2 in a row was back in 22, and they got off to that 1-6 start and roared back. They haven't lost back-to-back games, I think, since October of 2022. Okay. So they always respond after a loss. That's the first thing. They were home opener. Okay. Ben Johnson on the other sideline. There's no question. There's no question that there's personal pride there, and there's no question they had something to do with it. And so, I mean, that was a statement. Oh, my goodness gracious!
Who are they coming for?
But yeah, I mean, so I think that they do take that kind of thing personal. And Amon-Ra in the post game yesterday with Scott Van Pelt said, "Yeah, we remember what happened on this field 2 years ago. We're not again. This isn't. That kind of stuff does matter sometimes. It's so yeah. I mean, those kind of things add up. But they're rolling right now. The only thing I would caution though against is that this game against the Browns could be a little bit of a trap game. They're playing at home. Browns have, I think, a pretty good defense from what I'm hearing. And they did upset Green Bay, and you can't look past them because you never know what can happen. But yeah, they seem to be humming along real well. And it was also good to see Aiden Hutchinson get in on the act too. Get some sacks, get a forced fumble, get some, he harassed Jackson a few times. Looks like he got held again as usual, as he usually does. He even got, I think on the sack that he did get, he was held, but fought through the hole. So yeah, that was good to see too.
Yeah, and for what's worth noting, that game last night, the guys did make some mistakes. Like if Mahogany doesn't have that face mask in the fourth quarter, that 3 points is actually it's likely going to be 7 points because they were inside.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
And there was a couple drop picks and things like that.
Yeah.
Like I said, the Lions aren't perfect. They are definitely they should be considered a Super Bowl contender. But yeah, you make a great point, Greg, with the that it's a long season, and like I said, they're gonna stumble. I mean, shit happens in the NFL any given Sunday, as they say.
And I think they've won like I don't know, like at least 10 out of the last 11 road games or something like that. I mean, last year they didn't lose a road game at all.
Yeah.
Obviously, this year they lost opening day to Green Bay, but I think going back to late in the 23 season, I'm not sure if it was the game in Dallas. Maybe it was the last time they lost on the road. Remember that game, the no report game? That might have been the last road game they lost before the Green Bay game. That's amazing in the NFL.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's just I hate to put to put it in a like you said they got Cleveland coming up. And I know they have another. Don't they play Kansas City on the road?
Yes,
I think that's another primetime game. But Kansas City is starting to look like the age is catching up with them. All those playoffs, all that extra football is catching up with them now. You just don't look like the same team anymore. I think they're 1-2, I believe, right now.
Yes, they are. Yeah.
So when you look at this. People always look at the schedules at the start of the season before the season starts. Oh, this is going to be so tough. This game's going to be tough. This game's going to be a cakewalk. And we're already starting to see it. Cleveland's looking like there's going to be a tougher game. Maybe Kansas City might not be as tough of a game. It's just how the season was. It's just how the NFL is. But Nick, being out on the West Coast, I wanted to ask you this about watching sports in general, especially like Greg and I had to be up till halfway in the middle of the night to watch this game. That game,
Right.
It was done like 8:30 for me.
Right.
Exactly. No, that's the one thing that, but with the Lions being such a America's team now, I remember a few years ago when Dan Campbell first took over, every game was 1 o'clock, or other than Thanksgiving at 12:30.
Right.
And then the last game of the year, the Green Bay game, which kind of was the game that kind of sold everybody on Dan Campbell when they beat Green Bay on the road and knocked them out of the playoffs. That was the only game they had that year that wasn't at 1 o'clock, because that got flexed to Sunday night. Now we're seeing the Lions play Thursday night, Monday night, Sunday night, 4 p.m. on Sundays. No, 4:30, I should say, with the national game of the week. You know, for someone in the Eastern time zone, this shit's exhausting. I've always told people, say, the best place to be a sports fan is on the West Coast.
Well, the games start earlier too. So, they're if it's a 1 p.m. Eastern time game, it's 10 a.m. for me.
Bro.
That's either. Sometimes it feels almost too early a little bit.
Right.
And then like a night game like last night's would be like smack during dinner time, although I had microwave burritos and frozen pizza during that whole game. But
meal right there, definitely.
So I was looking forward to that, actually. It was great. And but
because I don't know how Greg felt after that game. I was wired, because I ended up, I watched the game sitting outside, by the RV here, and I ended up, because normally I would know game's over, I'm going to bed, but I ended up watching the post game with Scott Van Pelt, because he had all the Lion stuff on there. Then I go inside and I'm still wired, so I'm listening to the post game stuff on the radio.
Right.
Yeah, because I couldn't fall asleep. No, I was that game had me wired. I don't know if you were the same way, Greg.
I'm not, to be quite frank with you, I was just talking to somebody about this at work today, and I had to be at work early today, as a matter of fact. So you were talking about the Sunday afternoon at 1 o'clock games. I would be completely content if every Lions game was on at 1 o'clock on Sunday. Truly, yep. I'm over the prime time thing. Back in the day before the Lions were good, if they were ever on Monday Night Football, that was a huge deal, especially like in the 80s. Or the 90s. I mean, oh my God, the Lions on Monday night. I mean, unbelievable. And it was like fun to have them on national TV, other than the Thanksgiving Day game. So you get the good announcers, you get the big coverage, all the cameras, the whole 9 yards, and you didn't care that the game started at 9 o'clock. Now, it happens so big. They're on Thursday nights, they're on Sunday nights, they're on Monday nights, they're the Sunday at 4:30 game. I just assume they play at 1 o'clock every Sunday. Have the game done by 4:30. I can have my evening free. This jazz about staying up to 11:30, quarter to 12. It's great when they win. There's no question about it. But I'm kind of over the primetime stuff, frankly. It doesn't jazz me. It doesn't get me excited. It just all means I have to wait. And I have to wait all day Sunday. They're not even on Sunday now. Got to wait all day. I got to go to work. Wait all day Monday. Have dinner. Wait till 8:15 on Monday night for them to play. It doesn't do anything for me. It really doesn't.
Yeah. So the Lions would play at 1. I could watch the Lions game, and then I could I could put it on Red Zone and watch, and just they'll switch around from all the 4:30 games. Perfect for me.
Right.
No, I'm with you there.
For me, I like better is the evening games, like if they have one like a Monday night, because I have my day I can do things. Yeah. It's not like smack at 1 p.m. and then I can't do anything else. It kind of breaks up morning and evening, especially on like a Sunday. Like I would rather have a 5 p.m. start time for me. I figure it'd be worse for you guys if you're trying to watch a Tigers game and they're on a West Coast swing.
Yeah, or get me going with the Red Wings in the playoffs when they were in the Western Conference.
Oh, yeah, remember that? Yeah.
Well, they're never going to make the playoffs again the way they're going, so don't worry about that.
Before you hopped on, I was telling Greg I have very little enthusiasm for the Wings right now, because actually they're playing right now. Their exhibition season started tonight, but it's like same with college football, which I find a lot of Big Ten fans are pissed that the marquee Big Ten game of the week is at noon on Fox, basically because it screws up their tailgating time, because now they got to get to their tailgate at 6 in the morning or some crap like that. I'm like, yes, that's what I want to see, like Michigan or Michigan State or whatever. Now play the noon game, then I can watch college football tension free for till 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm all for that. I guess we're just old. I don't know. I'm not. I haven't tailgated in years. I don't sit here and go to worry about game. I used to do that. It'd be a lot of fun, but I'm old. I like my sleep, and I'm with Greg. Play the early game, and then I can enjoy the rest of my day either watching football or doing something else.
Well, that's the cost of being good. I mean, if you're good, you mentioned America's team.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, they're very popular among football fans in general. I mean, football fans in general like to watch this team. They like to watch Dan Campbell. They like the skill guys. They like to watch the guys with the nicknames. Now, they're not just Detroit nicknames. The Sonic and Knuckles thing now, that's taken off. It's not just a Detroit nickname. It's what the national people are calling these guys now. So that's the price you pay as fans, I guess, is that you're going to have these prime time games. They probably have 2 or 3 Thursday night games, I'm guessing, this year.
Yeah, they play more than half their schedule is either the 4:30 game, or prime time. Yeah, you're right. Not in Thanksgiving, obviously, which is now at noon, I believe. No, they move it to noon. They moved it to 1 o'clock, didn't they?
I think it's 1. Yeah, I think it's 1 o'clock. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah,
but yeah, it's like, that's a good point about the Lions kind of becoming America's team, because if you go on to social media, and the thing you see other teams' fans say about the Lions is they say they're fun. They play a fun brand of football with a lot of really likable players, and obviously Dan Campbell is a force of nature, and because what's likable about the Cowboys?
Right.
Nothing.
Well, you know what, too, Al? The other thing, don't underestimate how much that 18-play, 98-yard drive, 12-minute drive, or whatever it was. Don't underestimate how much football fans across the country love that stuff. That is, you're on the road in Baltimore. It's not that, and it's not an anti-Baltimore thing. I don't think the Ravens are necessarily looked at as a villain in the NFL. If anything, they're a model franchise. They've won a Super Bowl. They've got stability at head coach. They're almost always a good team. They've been built on their defense for years, as you know. They're just a good football organization, but they're good without being a villain. They're not like a team that you love to hate or anything like that. They're just really good, and they don't annoy anybody. There's nobody on the team that's really annoying. There's not. It's not they don't have Mahomes or Kelsey or Travis or Taylor Swift. They've got just good football players who are just perform, and so it's not an anti-Baltimore thing, but just watching that, football fans love that stuff. You go on the road against a good team, you put together a drive of that magnitude, precision, just slicing and dicing a defense, and that plays real well with football fans in general. If I was a fan and I didn't have a skin in the game and I watched that, I'd be impressed too. I mean, that's just because you don't see that very often. You don't see, what's the one of the most famous moments in pro football history? The drive, John Elway's drive against the Browns in the playoffs. I think that was also 98 or 99 yards. I mean, that's stuff of legend. Now, this is not going to rise to that level, obviously, because it's not a playoff game. But that's something people are going to be talking about for quite some time. And you mentioned, by the way, the post game on ESPN. Again, the Lions fans traveling. They made that post game set look like it was filmed in Ford Field. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's even the fan base for the most part comes off as fairly likable, even though but all fans can be insufferable, especially online. That's when it can be bad. But that's the. I think that we're seeing with some of the stuff we're talking about, but about the likability of the team and the things that they're able to do. That they were able to be good players without being assholes or coming off like a Kelsey.
Right.
is the no turds policy that the Lions have always said they've had. No turds in the punch bowl with this team. And that really seems to show with a lot of the guys on this roster. They really do see, they got guys who are outspoken like Kirby Joseph and Brian Branch, but they also back it up with their play on the field, for example, even though Branch got called for another 15-yard penalty, which was complete bullshit from going by the replay last night. That was more of a reputation call than anything else. But yeah, for the most part, guys, yeah, it's when you're watching, like I said, didn't Kelsey lose his mind go on Andy Reid again this past weekend?
I think so.
I
think so.
Yeah, it's like, and then I had to see his brother on Monday night on the pregame and postgame. It's like, I've had enough of the Kelseys. That's another whole conversation right there. I'm starting to reach that point with the Mannings. Even though I don't know about you guys, I didn't even watch the Manning cast last night.
I never watched the Mannings. I never. Yeah, I don't want to hear about them anymore. I'm tired of them. It's 20 years.
I don't know. Yeah, because when I watch a football game, especially one I'm invested in, I don't want to see Eli and Peyton doing comedy while I'm trying to watch the Lions drive or make a play or whatever.
Right.
I don't get who. I mean, I can see that occasionally being in the thing. They're doing it 12. They're up to like 12 games this year of doing that, and I just don't get the fascination of. I see some alternate broadcasts do make some sense when you get the different camera angles, like they'll give you the all 22 and things like that. But just having talking heads interfering with the game, I just don't get the. Maybe that's me being old again, but I just don't see the. It doesn't. I'll just put it does nothing for me.
I mean, I think the Manning thing is all just like trying to build on their personalities or their brand, what you want to call it that. Hey, here's these two great player brothers kind of thing, and look at them joking it up and getting together, talking about football. They know something, but it sounds boring, actually. I don't think it's not that interesting to me to watch any of that stuff. I just like watching the games. I don't like the frills around the game before and afterwards. It's all pretty lame.
And I'm the same way, Nick. It kind of goes for me. It kind of goes for all sports. I'm not big on like the Tigers tend to do these goofy mid-game interviews with the fans in the stands or with some sort of somebody's parents or somebody who's there for some special cause. And I do those like maybe between innings. Maybe hey, how about this? How about like not have a commercial for a change, and just do like in between innings instead of showing a commercial. Maybe do a couple-minute interview with some dude in the stands. They tend to do these, and especially lately, the Tigers fans are really cranky. The team's losing, and they've been losing a lot of games, and they don't want to see fluffy interviews in the middle of a game that the team is losing. It just grates on them, and they don't want to hear Benetti joking, and they don't want to hear Dickerson jinxing the team like he's been doing a lot lately. Dickerson saying, "Oh, this guy doesn't have power. This guy never walks," and the exact opposite happens.
Right.
And Dickerson's having a bad year, by the way. And nobody wants to hear that. The fans are very funny that way. When their team is losing or is on a losing streak, they don't want fluff. They don't want some chipper Johnny Kane interview in the stands with some probably non-baseball fan who's got some weird story to tell. That's fine for like other times of the year. This time of the year now, last week of the season, the stakes are high. People are cranky. They don't want to see that. They don't. Yeah. And now they'll watch it if the team's winning 10-2. Yeah. Put all the fluff that you want. They're losing 3-2 in the 7th, about to lose their 6th in a row, and you're doing a fluffy interview. Fans don't like that. They really don't. They just want to. They would rather have their wallow in their misery without any fluff. That's the way they roll.
Yeah, I mean, I don't get the Detroit broadcasts over here necessarily, especially for like baseball, and but I have managed to get a couple of them, and I see people talking online about Benetti. A lot of people seem to like him.
No, I do too. I do too.
There's a couple who are clearly have no patience for whatever brand of he has.
Yeah.
I'm spoiled by Ernie Harwell. I think he was a master.
Well, yeah, of course.
Calling a game. Him and Paul Harvey and
Paul Carey.
Yep. And that was great. They could always tell a story that was interesting. The couple times I saw Benetti, I saw him with like Dan Petrie, and they just started some kind of like stupid back and forth. It was just dumb. And it's like, I couldn't listen to it anymore, actually. I just couldn't. It helps that I just don't want to watch the Tigers anyway at this point.
Yeah.
We've gotten kind of fed up. So
I enjoy Benetti, but I can see it sometimes, or especially where him and Dirks. I think Dirks is the worst offender when those two get together. They can go a little over the top with the hijinks, if you know what I'm saying. But
it's stupid. It's not. They're not like good at it either. Like it feels like, is it like you guys have seen it more than I have? But that kind of stuff is just kind of like.
Well, like I said, fans they'll tolerate that stuff. The team's playing well and they're winning, like they were most of the season. That kind of stuff they'll tolerate. They'll even tolerate the fluffy interviews with Johnny Kane, mid game. But when it's just funny when the team doesn't play well, that kind of stuff doesn't go over well. It just doesn't. Nobody wants to be. You know why? I'll tell you, because nobody wants to be in a good mood. Nobody wants to be. Everybody wants to wallow, and this is true. Everybody wants to wallow. Nobody wants to be in a good mood or have their spirits uplifted by fluff that's taking place out that's not on the field because Johnny Kane's interviewing some 83-year-old guy who's there at his first Tigers game. Nobody wants to hear that when they're losing and the team's going bad. They just don't. It doesn't play well. Why? Because they're already in a bad mood. And when you're in a bad mood, you don't want to see fluff. You'd rather see the ball game, even if it's to see them lose. You don't want to hear an interview with some dude when you're missing 5 or 6 pitches. That's the other thing. These interviews go on and on and on, and they ask one more question, and the guests are never any good. The people they're interviewing are never any good. And so now you've burned through like 7 or 8 pitches with these things, and the fans don't like that. There'll even be a play. They'll make contact with the ball. The ball goes into play. I've seen them do interviews where the other team has scored. You think that plays well? You think that plays well when your team's losing and you're interviewing some idiot in the stands and the other team scores a run during that interview? You think that plays well? No.
Well, I mean, I agree with you. Like when things are going bad, is now these guys are going around trying to make light of the situation.
That's what it is.
It's like they're trying to gaslight the fans watching.
Right.
You're look at these guys. They suck. The pitchers are getting lit up. The hitters can't, hit the ball. And you're trying to joke around with me. It's like, look at this shit.
That's what I liked about Al. Do you remember Mark Champion doing the Lions games?
Oh my!
I used to love Mark Champion. Was great because he did the game as a fan would do the game. The emotions. He would call the game like a fan would call it. Like if the Lions were at third, if the other team at 3rd and 22, for example, and they converted it, and Mark Champion would say something like, and Testaverde back to pass and caught, first down, unbelievable. He would call it like that, which is how we would call it. And that's what fans want. They don't want these hunky dory. Everything, they don't want that. They want the feel the same pain that they're feeling.
At all. Yeah. The Lions needed Champion being like that, so that's why they ultimately replaced him. Yeah. At least he did land on his feet as the Pistons play-by-play guy on radio. But he was. That's a good call on Champion because you could hear. He didn't sugarcoat it. We'll put it that way. That's for damn sure.
But fans like that, though. They want the announcers to feel the same pain that they feel.
Yeah. I enjoy Dan Miller. He's pretty damn good play-by-play guy.
Yeah.
But he does come off as a company man guy.
That's okay.
Some calls.
Speaking of all NFL, that's fine. And then everybody does it in the NFL. Everybody does it in the NFL. That's
Yeah,
okay.
I guess while we're going off on the Tigers broadcast, I guess this is a good time to segue into talking a little bit about the Tigers before we wrap up the show. We've been going about 50 minutes now. It looks like, Greg, I saw your note in the chat here that it looks like the teams are going to be tied as of tonight. At the end of the games tonight,
Correct.
the Tigers will have lost their entire, what was it, 15-game lead or so at the All-Star break.
Yeah.
And there would be 5 games left to play, and it's 2 games left in Cleveland, and they'll be tied. Oh my God, what the hell has happened here? It's like, I was of the three of us, I was more of the kind of the apologist for what Scott Harris did at the trade deadline. Yeah, I can understand some of these moves he made. You guys were much more forceful that you didn't like what was going on. Well, I admit I was wrong. I mean, they cut Charlie Morton. They DFA'd him this week. He was awful. The guy they picked up from the Twins is in the bullpen. Is essentially their long guy when they're getting blown out. Hell, we might see him tonight the way things are going. Apparently,
mop-up guy. Yeah. Uh-huh.
Yeah. The guys, the bullpen guys they picked up have been. Finnegan was really good until he got hurt. He came back, and who knows what he's going to be like. And Montero's been okay. And the other guys were essentially just. It turns out, like Seward, the guy they picked up off the end, he was injured in Cleveland. He came back and got hit hard. Like, it's kind of hard you're throwing a guy in the middle of a goddamn pennant race coming off the injured list and expect him to be the guy he was before he was hurt. It's this whole thing is blowing up in Scott Harris's face, Greg. And if even if we end up just into the wild card, I would hope that the media really holds Harris's feet to the fire as to what's happened to this team.
If this indeed, excuse me, happens where they miss the playoffs entirely, and which is really still a possibility, of course. Yeah, there's Houston and Boston that are in that mix now in the wild card, because the Mariners have overtaken the Astros in the West, and so it's not just a matter of like in 2006 when they lost the division, but they had the wild card secured a week prior to that. This is now down to pretty much all or nothing. If they don't win the division, they very likely will not make the playoffs entirely. So that's why I wrote on Monday that this, if that does happen, this is not going to be just something you shake off and you come back next year and everybody's going to forget about it. The 2025 Tigers will have made history, obviously the wrong kind of history, but will have made history that people are going to be talking about for a long, long time. They're still talking about the 64 Phillies, which is I led my piece with that. They're still talking about the 64 Phillies who lost a 6.5 game lead with 12 games to go. That's another infamous one. Almost even casual baseball fans kind of know about that one. And that's what's people. I think once it starts to sink in, and you get past the shock of it all, and the realization that you've wasted 6 months, literally 6 months of your life, watching this team only to have no playoff baseball whatsoever, which is unfathomable. But that's where they're at right now. Once that shock wears off and it starts to sink in a little bit more. And the thing about this is that it's going to sink. It's going to take hold, and the baseball people around the country are not going to forget about this. This is not going to be something that just gets let's move on. No, this is going to be something that's going to stain the franchise for generations, maybe forever. I don't care how many World Series. The Phillies have won 2 World Series since '64, 1980 and 2008. And they're still talking about the 64 Phillies. They almost talk about the 64 Phillies more than they talk about the teams that won the World Series. Why? Because it was such a horrendous collapse. Now, this is even bigger. The Phillies had a 6.5 game lead with 12 games to go. That's bad. This is a 15 game lead in like the second week of July. Okay. Yeah. This is just, people are not going to get over this. I mean, this is not, the Tigers fans and the players, the whole organization are going to be reminded about this forever. And these players that play on this team, the Riley Greens of the world and the Torkelsons, the young guys, I don't care if they win 1 million MVPs. This is forever going. They're going to be part of this stench forever, and that's what is so. People may think I'm going overboard on this, but it's true. And I made the comparison to the '68 Colts who lost the Super Bowl to the Jets. I saw that America's Game feature that they aired about the 1970 Colts that won the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. Mike Curtis, Tom Maddy maybe, and I can't remember who the other guy was. Not Ray, Bill Curry. And they all said, because they were all on the 68 team, they all said, you know what? Take those rings. Don't even wear. Some of them don't even wear them. Some of them don't even wear those rings. Why? Because they were so broken up about losing that Super Bowl to the Jets. They were so ashamed of that because they were like 19-point favorites or something. They lost that game. That winning the whole thing 2 years later wasn't. And the other thing is they won a sloppy game. As you know, Al, that was one of the sloppiest Super Bowls that have ever been, still has ever been played. And the Colts said, we decided, okay, we're going to go into, we want to control football, make no mistakes, and run the ball, capitalize on all the other team's mistakes and everything. He said, we didn't do any of that. We turned the ball over. We played sloppy. We didn't run the football. We won at the end on a Jim O'Brien field goal. We won at the very, very end. But there was no joy. Can you imagine winning the Super Bowl and not feeling good about it? That's what that 68 loss to the Jets did to those Colts teams and that Colts team. So you can't tell me. Now, of course, if the Tigers surprise us all next year, win the World Series, of course it's going to take a lot of the sting out of it, obviously. All I'm saying is historically, this is going to be attached to this franchise forever. And and there's nothing they can do about it. You can't make people forget about this. This is going to last forever. And that's the thing that I don't know that people totally get yet. I know they're ticked off about this season. Yes, they're ticked off that their team is going to possibly blow it. That's obviously once they realize the magnitude of this from a historical perspective. I'm telling you, this. I don't know that the Tigers as a franchise will recover from this. I really don't. I know I'm sounding very, very dramatic here, but I don't think you can overstate this. I really can't.
There'll be no joy in Mudville, as they say. Apparently, that's what it's turning into. But yeah, because I was in the stands in 2006, final game of the year, when the Tigers blew the division. Because I think, if I remember right, they got swept that final weekend, lost the division, but they still backed to the wild card and made it to the World Series. Regardless of that, I never seen that was one of the most angry things I've ever. The fans were legit pissed off. That was one of the few times I've left the stadium, and you could just feel the seething anger of the fan base after that game. And that was a team that actually still made the playoffs. I mean, God.
Right.
If this team misses the playoffs altogether, which is a legit possibility at this point, oh my, it's going to get ugly.
They still have time. I mean, they can still salvage it. They still can. That's what's so funny about it. Is that they still can. They still can. With 5 games left, they can still fend that off.
They can pull it out, yeah.
And even if they just make the playoffs and lose in the wild card round, the fans will still have averted disaster. Because at this point, making the playoffs and losing the wild card round would be a win right now. Really. Because instead of not making the playoffs at all, I think the fans would just be relieved just for them to qualify. And who cares if they lose 2 in a row and are done? At least they will have made the playoffs. Now, they still are going to go down as a choke. That's still going to go down as a choke job. But to not make the playoffs at all would be catastrophic.
Yeah. It's yeah, and that's the thing is that it's not just been one thing. You know, obviously there are legitimate injuries, which they've lost some of their starting pitchers, they've lost some of their bullpen guys. Now, Matt Vierling has not returned. Parker Meadows missed majority of the year. Regardless, but then again, guys who performed very, very well for most of the year have pretty much disappeared. In September, Riley Green, McKinstry, Gleyber Torres, most of these guys, I hate to use the word choke, but it feels like they've choked. One of the few guys that actually hit decently over the past few weeks has been Torkelson, for example. But for the most part, it's not like the Tigers are losing slugfests. They're losing games 2-0,
right?
5-1. What's it tonight? 6-2 or something like that right now.
5-2.
Yeah, 5-2. The offense, and because this team was supposedly built on not having a couple of superstar batters, this team was built on they would have a whole bunch of guys who would give you that between a 700 and 800 OPS and could pick up the slack when someone else wasn't, for the most part. And a couple guys have the talent to maybe become one of those, like Green, for example. But it seems like almost every single one of them has collapsed over the past few weeks in September. The offense has literally disappeared. And you can see AJ Hinch is just grasping at straws at this point with him trying to pull levers and push buttons, and literally nothing is working right now. And that's the other thing as well. I have a hard time blaming, a lot of people are going to blame Hinch, but when you look at the roster and what's been given to them, especially with the pitching staff and the fact that they've had to use literally an Uber, I would guess, to move guys back and forth between Detroit and Toledo with the bullpen, I am not going to. Is Hinch partially culpable? Of course he is. Everybody is. But this is not. I'm not going to put this entirely on the manager or the coaches. This is more. If you ask me, what's going on right now is falling on the players and on the front office. And I think mostly on the front office, because I bought into the what they did what the trade deadline was right. They should have added something more substantial than, as Nick likes to say, the dumpster diving bargain bin stuff that Harris seems to love to do, and that has really come back to bite them in the ass. Because I'll ask right now, I've seen people saying, "Oh, they need to fire Hinch." He'd be hired tomorrow, or the day after the season ends, another team will snap him up. He is that good of a manager. But sometimes shit happens, and a lot of times that shit is because of what's going on with the front office. So, it's a damn shame what's going on right now.
Well, I can tell you that the Reddit people are way more blaming Harris than they are Hinch. You get a few people that say fire Hinch, but way more people, Al, are putting this on Scott Harris. And the thing when you have these kind of monumental breakdowns, meltdowns, whatever you want to call them, collapses, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
Usually that's the thing too. There's not like one person responsible, obviously. So there's a number of different, you mentioned it yourself. You mentioned all these people, all these players whose offensive games have gone south at the same time. Yeah. Baseball is a very funny game. It's very, very funny in that way. I mean, it's fascinating, quite frankly, how this game can break your heart, and how difficult it is to play it. But I think ultimately, without question, the pitchforks are going to be out for Harris. There's no question about it. And the reason why is because, and Al, and Nick too, you guys know that very oftentimes when the fans are very reactionary, and a lot of times their hot takes that they take are proven to be wrong, and the doomer people are proven to be wrong. But in this case, the doomer people who were upset with Harris at the trade deadline for not doing enough can bring the receipts now. And a lot of times these doomers that you hear go spouting off about the trade deadline, they get shut up, by now. They've long been shut up by now, okay? Yeah. But now they're back out. And it's hard to argue against these people. I mean, I don't know on the one hand what you'd have Harris do that he didn't do. But to me, it's not just the deadline. And Nick's right about the bargain basement stuff. It's not just the deadline. It's not. It's Harris in general. And we've talked about this before, about not being able. We don't know yet if he's able to bring in those pieces to the puzzle from outside the organization. Now we
sometimes need to take a big swing.
Yes, well, you know what? He's shown so far that he can build a pretty good minor league pipeline, because baseball observers tend to be in agreement that the Tigers have one of the best, minor league systems in the game. Again, take that for what it's worth, but that's the prevailing opinion of a lot of baseball people who, quote unquote, should know that the Tigers have a very good pipeline for the future. Okay, that's fine. We don't know, though, what where his moxie is in terms of bringing in pieces from outside the organization. We were talking about last time we were together. We were talking about that 83-84 little 2-year span there, where the Tigers were bringing in the Johnny Grubbs of the world and the Rupert Joneses and the Darrell Evanses and the people like that from outside, Bergman and Hernandez, from outside the organization, to kind of be the complementary guys, the veteran people, to surround the young core, who had not at that point hadn't won anything yet. The Petries, the Morrises, the Gibbies, the Parishes, the Whitakers, the Trammels had not won anything yet. And so they brought in Rosemont. They brought in these guys from outside the organization with some tread on the tires. Okay. Some of them had won, some of them had not, but they were veteran guys. And guess what? They were all big time contributors in 84. Big time. Yeah. And he got Rupert Jones. He produced Rupert Jones out of nowhere. And Rupert had been a steady ball player for a number of years in the American League. And so, and all these guys had their moments in 84. Every one of them had their big moment in 84. So Harris hasn't done that yet. He's done the bargain basement stuff, the Alex Cobbs of the world, the Kenta Maedas of the world, the Chris Paddocks of the world, Charlie Mortons of the world, Speedwalds of the world, the guy they got from Atlanta, Monteros of the world. He hit on Finnegan, who got shelled tonight. He hit on Finnegan. Okay, all right. So that's why it's on Harris. That's why it's on Harris. This is going to be fascinating. If there's anything that's good that's going to see what Harris does. This is a big offseason for this kid.
Oh,
I mean,
God,
really after this, I don't know. You can't sell anyone anymore on let's stay the course, bring up the kids, let them cook. You can't do it now. You can't. These fans are too hurt. They are hurt. They're wounded. Their hearts have been ripped out of their chest. You can't just sit there and say, well, we got McGonigal, we got Max Clark, we got these kids coming through, and let's just let these younger guys cook. Let's let the Dylan Dinglers cook. Let's let the Riley Greens cook and the Torkelsons. Well, it'll be okay, guys. Just let these guys get some more experience. You can't do it. You can't do it now. Whatever timeline Scott Harris had that he thought was right on schedule in mid-August is gone. Yeah. You have to change course. If he doesn't change course and do something, and I'm not suggesting he go and sign up a guy for 10 years of $400 million. I'm not saying that. He's got to do something a little bit bold. And Nick has been saying this for probably 2 years now. That Harris has not done one bold thing. Really, hasn't really done one bold. They caught lightning in a bottle last year, and that's fine. He rolled it all back for 2025, and for a while it looked like that was the smart move. Now it's not. So it's like any business. Things change in the business world. Companies have to pivot all the time. Yeah. CEOs have to make decisions. What looked good in January doesn't look so good in September. So you have to make a decision. You have to pivot. Things, it didn't work, guys. We got to try something else. If he doesn't do that in some way, shape, or form between now and next spring training, I'm sorry. That's an indictment on this guy. So we'll see. But he's got his work cut out for him. He is going to be. I tell you what, if this happens, if this goes down, he's going to be public enemy number one in Detroit for at least the next 6 months. No one's going to come close. He's going to wipe off Eisman off the map. He's going to wipe off anyone. Scott Harris will be public enemy number one in Detroit for a long time. Really, he'll be public enemy number one until he make the playoffs again. And that's just the way it is. And frankly, that's the way it should be. Because this is a game of accountability. And I would think that even he would say, we've got to be held accountable. Now, he won't come out, of course, in a postseason press conference and say, it's on me, guys. He may not say those in so many words, but he better say, it's up to me to fix it. And we'll see if he can or not. But this is way more on Harris than it is on Hinch. Way more.
Greg, I think you're giving him more rope than I ever would. You're still giving him another offseason to see if he could do anything. I call bullshit on that whole thing. He's had 3 off seasons, 2 or 3 trade deadlines.
That's fair.
He's done. He hasn't done jack shit other than dumpster diving.
Fair. The only reason I say that, Nick, is because he's not been put in the situation where this is like a shock to the system. If it's kind of like that, shocking a heart back into fibrillation. If he doesn't respond, and the reason I say that also is because they're not going to fire him. You know that.
I know they're not going to fire him. He's a long way from being.
So he's going to get another chance. He's going to get another shot at it. So what I'm saying is, if he doesn't do something now after this, then you are 150% correct that he's not the guy.
I have a feeling he's just going to double down and keep doing what he's doing. He has his hard on over his the farm system, which, the Tigers have never had a good farm system. And if they actually produce something out of that farm system that's like serious baseball players, great. Harris has inherited the team he's got now and the players he's had. He's brought them up from the minor leagues. And people talk about, he's good for the development for the young guys. I call bullshit on that too. These are mostly, if not all, Avila's players that he drafted. If Scott Harris brought in like modern analytics and all this other shit and this technology, that's only because the Tigers were so far in the dark ages. It looks like he actually did something. He's just catching them up. So that's a low bar to begin with. I don't think Scott Harris has done much of anything at all. And
no, you're right.
He can't. What is he? Who did he trade for? Nobody. You already rattled them off. Like it's, the great hitter Mark Canha. Like who?
What's another one? Yeah.
Like doesn't walks. Big fucking deal. Like and nobody ever heard of him. He was like an obscure player. And he's got all these guys to help with hitting. The Tigers just struck out 19 times today. 19 fucking strikeouts. And they went through literally 5 pitchers. I said 6, but they went through 5 pitchers today. Lost. Again, kind of just like what I said. As soon as Skubal was out, everything completely fell apart. But so what has he done? Nothing. Chris Fetter can't work miracles with every one of these players. I mean,
right.
And we're not talking about the big elephant in the room, but that's Tarek Skubal's contract. I mean,
Skubal's after his contract.
Into year of the deal. I mean, you either have to extend him or you have to trade him. I mean, otherwise you're gonna hope to make another playoff run and then let him walk. That's a huge risk, especially if you don't make the playoffs and then you lose Skubal for nothing. I mean, this offseason is going to, as Greg said, this is a referendum offseason for the Tigers.
Well, I mean, here's the other part of it too. Let's say he does trade Skubal. Does Scott Harris know how to trade for an actual major league player?
We haven't seen it yet. You're right.
I mean, who's he going to trade for? A bunch of fucking minor leaguers, which they already have? Big deal. Who knows whether any of the minor leaguers that they have now in this wonderful farm system are going to do anything?
You know what? They've lost a lot of Skubal starts. I'm starting to. I'm not necessarily down on Skubal per se because he's still the best pitcher they have, obviously. But the guy's not. It's not a given anymore that when he takes them out, they're going to win.
No, it
for a
isn't.
lot of reasons. Number one, they never give him any run support ever. That's the first thing.
Exactly.
Secondly, to be quite frank with you, he's been okay the second half of the year. Not great. He's been okay. He gave up the big grand slam last year in the playoffs. Okay, it happens. Fine. If you saw the sixth inning tonight, he completely unraveled in a game the Tigers had to win. And if he walks, I'm not so sure that's all that big of a deal anymore. I really
But then you have to replace your ace.
But what is the record in games that he starts?
Again, I'd have to.
I know you don't know that off the top of your head. I'm just.
But the thing is, though, that's a whole domino effect. You let Scuba walk, then you're expecting Jackson Jobe to step up.
I know
that.
Whole
terms there with the Scuba stuff.
No, I know.
But let's talk. Let's look at, if we step back and we look at the roster as a whole. Who's a really good player on that team? Maybe Riley Green, plus about, if you want to just eat 200 strikeouts. Which other guy is really that good? And you have
really
Scoobel. I think they way overachieved at the end of last year. I think they got off to a great start this year, and everybody else sucked in the division.
Yeah.
And they're coming back to reality. This is like a slightly above average roster.
Right.
And
right.
The fact that they were in first place just means actually the AL Central just sucks overall. And which is normally the case. I think they're coming back to reality. They're not that great of a team. Their pitching is a mess.
I never thought they were. And this is going to sound like I'm, it's true. Even this whole season, I never trusted them. I don't know what it was. It's like, yeah, they're winning. They got a big lead. I looked at them sometimes and I said, and the reason why is because they would play these awful teams and they got swept by the Pirates, got swept by the A's, got swept by the Braves. They lost 2 out of 3 to the Marlins. They lost, the NL East destroyed them this year. They did like 4-11 against the NL East. Okay. And 3 of those teams were lousy and they couldn't beat them. They couldn't beat the Pirates. I mentioned the A's. They had this. They lost 2 or 3 of the Reds. There was something about this team that I never really trusted. Now, having said that, I never truly thought that they would be in this position either. But I didn't trust them. There was something about them that I didn't like. And I think it was what you're inferring, which is they don't have these. They're a team that relies on being the sum being the better than all of their parts. And I don't know that that's sustainable. You have to have everyone humming. Javi got off to a good start. He made the All-Star team, believe it or not, as a center fielder. The first half of the season was magical, but there was something about it that I didn't trust it. It's like, there's something about this. I don't think this is sustainable. I didn't think they'd blow the lead. I really did. But I just didn't trust it. I didn't trust it.
No, and you shouldn't. Javi doing really well making the All-Star team is an outlier. Because he's, what is this, like his 4th year with the Tigers?
Yeah. 4th.
Has he ever been good? No, he was swinging at everything within 3 feet of him. And
he's do it again, yeah.
McKinstry, who the hell is that? McKinstry was never that good of a player anywhere else, and all of a sudden he makes the All-Star team. Jack Flaherty, because he had one good year last year, everybody was high on him, but he was stumbling in the previous teams he played for when he played with the Cardinals. So, which Jack Flaherty are you going to get? Did you just happen to catch him on a good year versus this year? Then strange pitcher signings with Maeda and then Cobb. It's like, what the fuck was this? It's like, that's your free agent? What you're going for? It made no sense. I don't think, like I said, from the very beginning, Scott Harris rubbed me the wrong way. I couldn't put my finger on it back then. But, yeah. I mean, he's just demonstrating, he's just going to double down on the same stupid shit he was doing before. I don't buy that he's going to do anything. And that's kind of why I don't watch, because I know they're not going to get rid of him anytime soon.
Well,
and so this is going to continue.
Yeah, and you're right. You're right. The thing, though, is that in other cities, with other owners, this is a fireable offense. And whether it's totally fair, sometimes heads have to roll when things like this happen. It may not always be fair. It may not always be, well, geez, you can't, how are you going to, is it a scapegoat thing? Yeah, maybe. But I know that in other towns, this could get a GM fired, really. I mean, because of the magnitude of this. Now, Chris Ilitch is not going to do that because Chris Ilitch is not that kind of an owner. But there are some owners in Major League Baseball where this would be a fireable offense to lose a 15-game lead. Some might blame the manager because he's directly impacting every single game. But ultimately, over 162 games, it's the roster that loses you the games, not the manager. So if this had played out in New York, if this had played out in not even New York, other baseball towns, it doesn't have to be New York. If this had played out in other baseball cities, the way it's played out like it has here, that GM would probably be fired. There's a good chance that he'd be fired at the end of the year. It really could be a fireable offense.
I think what's saving Scott Harris's ass is luck. Last year they got lucky and got into the playoffs.
That does not hurt. That does not hurt, right?
But it wasn't because Scott Harris made some trade deadline moves
he wasn't
or off-season moves. He
wasn't an executive of the year, right? Exactly.
Not at all. Not even close. They got lucky, and so it looks good for him. Like things are going well.
And the Twins shit the bed in the whole 9 yards.
Exactly. And this year, it looked really good for a long time. You can say, oh, well, they collapse at the end. They just need to tweak a little bit, and they'll be back at it.
Right.
Bullshit. I mean, they just have like a slightly above average roster. This is just not that great of a team.
And I remember, if you guys remember, I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but I think after last season, after they were eliminated, we were talking about the offseason and stuff. And I said they're just as likely could lose 90 games next year. I said this. They could just as likely lose 90 games. Why? Because I didn't trust this lightning in the bottle thing. I didn't trust it. Okay. Now, they didn't lose 90, obviously. They weren't that bad. But they're playing in the second half of the season like a 90-loss team. You know what I'm saying? They've been playing like a 90-loss team for quite some time now. So, I never trusted this whole thing. The lightning in a bottle and then roll it all back again without any major additions is coming back, to bite them. And now they had some injury problems. Yeah. Veerling, Meadows, that's true. Reese Olson, Joe.
How big of a, if Matt Veerling is a difference between winning and losing some games, that's pretty bad.
No, I know. I'm just saying, I know that. I know. So, I'm just saying that there are some things that they didn't count on happening, but it happens to every team too. It's not just the Tigers. But this is going to be a fascinating offseason.
I'm just sad now after hearing all this stuff. So I think it's a good time to just. That was.
I told you that's why I didn't watch the Tigers this year. I knew this would happen. Or not necessarily this collapse.
Yeah, right.
It's just got the phone notification that the Tigers lost 5-2, and now they are the division is tied. So. Oh my God. Anyway, I think it's time to wrap things up because we've gone longer than we were planning to begin with this little just shoot the shit experiment. So I think it's time for our jerk of the week so we can get out of here. So Nick, who's your jerk of the week?
So mine is something it's kind of a little bit subtle, but it's just kind of bugged me. And the first time I ever noticed it was when Matt Stafford asked for a trade, and then he got traded over to the Rams. Right afterwards, I think it was J-Mo that took his number 9 number.
Yeah.
And basically my jerk of the week is this idea of honoring active players in some kind of weird way. Like they have, they're wrapping up a career and retiring, and you're going to retire their numbers afterwards. And so there was just kind of this weird thing where J-Mo asked permission of Matt Stafford to use his number 9 on the Lions. And I remember responding online to it. Why the fuck would he do that? Matt Stafford's an active player. He's going to go play for somebody else. I don't care if he was good with the Lions. That number doesn't belong to him. It wasn't retired. So there was an article like today or yesterday. Someone asked Jerry Jones whether they're going to like do a tribute to Micah Parsons when the Packers come to play the Dallas Cowboys in Dallas. I'm like, what the fuck for? The guy was drafted by them, played 4 years, and demanded to be traded. Why would you even bother doing a tribute to this guy? I don't care if he was a good player. So what? And it just kind of doesn't make sense when people are talking about tributes to players, and especially an active young player. It literally does not make any sense to me. So my jerk of the week is this whole idea of like overdoing these tributes to nothing. So
can't argue against you there. Especially which is well, they need to retire Stafford's jersey. You didn't do anything here, but it's a whole nother thing.
They're going to do it. So,
Greg, you're up next. Who's your jerk?
Well, this is kind of subtle as well. You remember our old friend, the cornerback that played here for one year, C.J. Gardner Johnson, CJGJ.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he was the loudmouth that came to the Lions for a year. Seemed like he was all in. Remember, he started the whole thing wearing a mask. One of the fans to wear masks to games and stuff.
Oh God, yeah.
And then he left the Lions, badmouthed the Lions, went back to Philly. Okay, won a Super Bowl with the Eagles. Okay, fine. Left the Eagles and then ended up being traded. I think traded to the Texans. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, he's been cut. The Texans, who are 0-3, by the way, cut CJGJ. Okay. But here's my jerk of the week. It's not so much him, because I think he kind of brings us on himself. There's Lions fans on Reddit that want to snatch this guy up. I'm like, what? Are you serious now? Are you actually thinking that this team that's prides itself on its culture, and they don't like to have a lot of knuckleheads on their team and all this other stuff? And after he badmouthed the Lions when he left, just like he badmouthed the Eagles when the Lions signed him, remember that? He badmouthed the Eagles, Lions signed him, then he leaves the Lions, he badmouths the Lions, signs back with the Eagles, a team that he badmouthed the year before. Now he's with Houston, gets cut by an 0-3 team, and now some fans want him, the Lions, to pick him up because they don't like Terry and Arnold. Are you kidding me? It just I don't picking on fans is low hanging fruit, because I could do a jerk of the week every week. We all could on the fans every week. Yeah. So but this particular one just really, and the other thing is I can't wait to see. It's just like I can't wait to see JD Martinez and JV Justin Verlander retire. So I have to hear the Tigers fans say, bring these guys back. But so CJGJ is gone from the Texans, and some Lions fans want the Lions to sign this clown. He's a punk. Yeah. He's a punk. And he's not. You think he's going to fit in? No. So I don't know if it's CJGJ who's the jerk or it's the fans, but anyone who wants this guy on the Lions is high as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Speaking of no turds in the Punch Bowl, that would be shitty in the Punch Bowl. You brought him back and forth. So
yes.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Yeah. Fans are insane. Reddit does have a lot of insane. The Lions subreddit is a lot of insane people in there, to say the very least. But I was gonna go. There's a couple ways I could have gone with my jerk of the week. I'd like Clayton Kershaw announced his retirement. Great player, shitty person, and that stuff always seems to get whitewashed. He's homophobe, amongst other things. But another shitty person who I did not wish death on, Charlie Kirk. A podcaster. That's essentially what he was. He was a podcaster. Yet, and he obviously did die a horrible death that no one deserves. But almost all of the NFL teams held a moment of silence for him. Why? He wasn't a political figure. He never ran for office, ever held office. He was a podcaster and YouTuber. That's it. Essentially a Republican agitator. That's all he was. That's it. Yep. The GOP so wants a martyr that I didn't even want to get into that part of it.
Right.
But the vast majority of NFL teams, only 5 teams didn't do it. The vast majority of them had some sort of honorary moment of silence for someone that, I mean, hell, they didn't do it for the Minnesota legislators that got assassinated, for Christ's sake. So, but what I say, so that's my jerk of the week. The NFL teams that held a moment of silence, makes no sense at all to me. But credit where credit is due. One of the 5 teams that didn't do it, the Detroit Lions. And again, I think that again goes to that no turds policy. Plus, they are run by a woman, and in Sheila Ford Hamp, and it's not like Charlie Kirk was known for his progressive beliefs when it comes to women in the workforce or abortion and things like that. So, kudos to the Lions, but my jerk of the week is to the NFL teams that held a moment of silence for a fucking podcast.
That's a good one. Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
It's interesting that you say that because one of the other teams is the Colts, who's now run by Jim Irsay's daughter.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, they didn't. Yeah, exactly. It says volumes at the very least. Which teams honored it and which teams didn't. Usually, because the ones that were run by old rich men, essentially. All right, with that, let's get the hell out of here, guys. It's been hey, at least the first half of the podcast was lots of fun.
I think you guys are going to need the rest of the night to settle down after this one.
No damn kidding. All right. Well, with that, Nick, why don't you tell everybody where they can find you online?
All right. Well, if you want to talk to me about sports, I'm on Twitter at Nick Milanovich, so it's just my name. I'm on Blue Sky too, a lot less active, and there look for Cat Up a Tree, which is here. You can see there on the screen. So, but if you want to talk sports, go with the Twitter.
And Greg, as always, you can get out your where your social media is, and remind everyone about your Substack.
Yes, on X, I'm at Greg Eno. Substack is gregeno.substack.com. Please subscribe. I'm gathering some more subscribers this summer. It's nice to see a little more engagement. Post my everything comes out every Monday. If you do subscribe, it'll be in your inbox. If you don't subscribe, but if you're on X, I will post my piece every Monday around 5:15, 5:30 every Monday afternoon. You can take part. Usually starts off a little bit of a fun little conversation every week, which is kind of fun. So please do that. And as far as the rest of the schedule, guys, well, I want to thank my lovely wife Sharon, of course, for putting up with this nonsense. Al. And thank you guys for making, in this case, Tuesday night so gosh darn fun. But what's our schedule like, do you think, coming up?
I'm going to be up north for at least another 2, I think at least another couple of weeks. So we'll probably be doing the similar thing again.
Okay.
In a couple of weeks, I believe I will still be up here.
Okay.
And before we're going to go back for probably a few days and come right back up because we're probably going to spend as much time as we can up here before the weather starts.
Well, everything went smoothly tonight, tech-wise.
Yeah, I think anything was that we started later. Starting at 8 o'clock, I think made a huge difference.
Yeah.
So fingers crossed that this is the this is how it's going to go from here on out.
That's fine. I'm fine with that. Yeah, that's fine.
Yes, and as always, guys, thank you both for putting up with my traveling and all that kind of stuff between Florida and being up north. I'm hardly ever home anymore. That's where my big boy PC is, where it makes doing this very easy. So, but I appreciate you guys spending the time with me and dealing with some of the technical issues we have. And as well, other than that, I'll throw out there, if you want to, please like, share, and subscribe to the show. We're available pretty much anywhere podcasts are found, including places like Apple Podcasts. We're on Amazon Music. We're on YouTube Music. We are on Spotify. We are on iHeartRadio. Any place you can find a podcast, search for the Knee Jerks. I should say the Knee Jerks podcast or the Knee Jerks with Nick and Big Al. Just do a search. You'll find the show. Download it. Like, share, subscribe. Please subscribe. And as well, the kneejerks.net is our homepage where we will post the show. Where you can get to MP3, any links and things like that we talked about, like social media links, you can find right there at the kneejerks.net. And of course, we are also live streaming to YouTube and Twitch. The YouTube stuff stays up for as long as we want to keep it there, and Twitch will stay live for about 2 to 3 weeks. before. That's just how the beast. That's how the Twitch beast works. It doesn't sit permanently on Twitch, but you can watch us on Twitch as well. So I think with that, we'll probably be back on Monday, hopefully, on our next show. I have no idea what the line. Who knows? The Lions might be playing on Monday night again for all we know.
I know, you're right. Yeah, I know.
I say, watch Greg and Nick's Twitter. They will let you know when the next show will be. What it should be in 2 weeks, either on the Monday or Tuesday, depending on the Lions' schedule. So until that time, this is Al Beaton saying good evening and luck and aloha, along with Nick Milanovich.
Good night, guys.
And, of course, Greg Eno.
Ciao, Italy. We'll see you in about 2 weeks.